Hi, good day. We are the Group 11 and we are here to talk about forecasting and demand planning. But here's our today's agenda. What is forecasting and demand planning? Second, what is the basic concept of forecasting and time series? Third, what is the two types of forecasting models? And fourth, what is the role of the statistic and judgmental in forecasting? And the last, how statistical and judgmental forecasting techniques are applied in practice. Let's begin. First, forecasting and demand planning. Ano nga ba si forecasting and demand planning at paano ito nakakaapekto sa ating mga businesses? Forecasting and demand planning are essential processes for business in various industries. They involve predicting future demand for products or services and developing strategies to meet that demand efficiently. Nakakatulong po ito para magkaroon tayo ng desisyon na maganda para po sa ating business sa susunod na taon. Sabi nga nila, the higher the demand, the higher the supply. And the higher the supply, the higher the demand. Kaya kailangan po natin i-predict or malaman kung ano yung mga kailangan pa nating gawin or itaasan na mga produkto sa susunod na mga taon. Kaya andito po si forecasting para tulungan po tayo for decision making.
Step N of forecasting: identifying and understanding the structure. There are almost indefinite factors that can affect the business. Identify all these factors is neither possible or desirable. So, to make an accurate forecast, the manager have to identify the factors on which to focus. So, internal and external factor must be studied to identify the strategic factor of the business. Forecasting the future. Now that the foundation is laid, the next step is to make an accurate and scientific forecast. This involved both scientific tools and techniques and also professional judgment and observation. The forecast is not a foolproof plan, only a guiding map for the future. Analysis of deviation. No forecast will be a complete accurate. The difference or deviations from the forecast should be analyzed and studied. This will help in making more accurate forecasts in the future. Adapting the forecast procedure. In forecasting, the skill and professional judgment required are gained by experience and practice. The forecast process is fine-tuned with every cycle, so we can learn from our mistake and shortcoming and keep improving on the forecasting procedures. Some important features or characteristics of forecasting are forecasting is strictly concerned with the future event only. It analyzes the probability of a future event or transaction occurring or happening. It involves analysis of data from the past and the present. Forecasting uses scientific technique and method to make such forecasts, but it also involves certain guesswork and observation. For the example, sa tulad kong may maliit na negosyo, forecasting is very important to me. Pagpaplano ng mas maaga at gumawa ng mas maraming backup plans para sa darating na mga holidays event. Ang aking product is printing. So, isa sa mga nagiging plano namin is gumawa ng mga unique ideas na design na hindi pa na ilalabas sa market. So, para yung mga customers namin walang kapareha na design sa iba. And is kasama na rin doon kung mas mura at mas may quality product binibigay namin sa kanila. So, kasama sa mga pinoforecast namin is maghanap ng raw materials na mura pero may quality. Nag-forecasting kami ng mga iba't ibang backup plans kasi hindi lahat ng pinaplano natin na is 100% accurate. So, para may backup, halimbawa hindi mabenta yung ganitong items, meron kami ibang plano para makabenta this coming holidays. Ngayong December, mga t-shirt, mugs, and other souvenir items.
Hello, my name is Sishin Mehab Samson. My topic is demand planning. Demand planning is a supply chain management process of forecasting or predicting the demand for products to ensure they can be delivered and satisfy customer. Example of demand planning. Sari store, it has a lot of varieties, right? Customer demand for a junk foods, then by the time the store restock, it will buy a lot of junk foods to fulfill customer demand. Why demand planning is important? If product is not available for customer to purchase because it out of stock, business lose out of revenue and over time, they could lose the customer to a competitor. On other hand, setting up slow of unused inventory incurs both space and product costs. Unnecessarily, with the demand planning, business leader can stay in front of market shift and make more proactive decisions while being responsive to other customer needs. Next topic is basic concept in forecasting and time series. Planning horizon is the length of time on which a forecast is based. Example of horizon planning is Jollibee Corporation use a 5 years planning horizon where they're expected to double their sales for every branches by the year of 2018. Year of 2028. Next is time bucket. Is the unit of measure for the time period used in forecast. Example of time bucket. My group mates plan to finish the activity for 30 minutes so so that we can do the other tasks for the rest of the given time. Next topic is time series. Time series is a set of observation measured and successive points in the time or over a successive period of the time. May DZRH radio announced that Typhoon Daomeng is expected to hit the Philippines, especially the Bicol region, this coming Friday between 8 to 10 p.m. According to weather forecast, it has a speed of 60 km per hour.
Trend show the general tendency of the data to increase or decrease during a long period of time. For example, some news song comes, it goes trending for a while and then disappear. Next is seasonal. Seasonal, these are the arithmetic forces which operate in a regular and periodic manner over a span of less than a year. For example, retail sales tend to peak for the Christmas season and then decline after the holidays. So typically show increased sales from September through December and declining sales in January and February. Next is cyclical. In a time series which operate themselves over a span of more than 1 year, for example, seasonal changes in temperature. Next is irregular. Is a one-time variation that is explainable, for example, account deposits or withdrawals from an ATM. Next is random. Is the unexplainable deviation of time series from predictable patterns such as trend, seasonal, or cyclical pattern. For example, floods and earthquake.
Hello, my name is Realin Angel Aynala, and I'm going to discuss the two types of forecasting models. First, we have qualitative forecasting model, and the second, we have quantitative forecasting models. Qualitative forecasting models are based on expert judgment, opinions, and subjective information rather than historical data. These models are often used when historical data is limited, unreliable, or when the situation is complex to be predicted solely based on quantitative data. Some common qualitative forecasting methods include Delphi method. This method involves collecting and summarizing opinions from a panel of experts to reach a consensus on future outcomes. Example of it when a team of medical experts is hired to advise on whether a drug would be effective to treat a particular class of diseases. They each ask to anonymously give their opinion about it and then get to see what the others said. Next one is the market research. Surveys, focus groups, and customer feedback are used to gather opinions and insight that can be inform future forecasts. Example of this is restaurants might use a survey to gather feedback on menu options and customer preferences. Next is executive opinions. Decision makers or executive within an organization provide their judgment and insights to make forecasts. Next is scenario analysis. This involves creating different scenarios or what if analysis to consider multiple possible future outcomes. Example of this is pandemic planning. A healthcare organization performs scenario analysis to prepare for potential pandemic outbreaks. Scenarios consider different levels of infectiousness and severity, helping healthcare facilities allocate resources, staff, and infrastructure effectively. Next is we have quantitative forecasting. Uh, it mostly rely on historical data and mathematical or statistical techniques to make predictions about future events. These models are typically more objective and data driven. Some common quantitative forecasting methods include time series analysis. This method involves analyzing historical time ordered data to identify patterns, trends, and seasonality. Techniques like moving averages, exponential smoothing, and ARIMA are ARIMA or auto-regressive integrated moving average are commonly used. Example of this is climate and weather. It's like predicting or studying historical weather data to make short-term and long-term weather forecasts, helping with agricultural planning, disaster, and preparedness, and more. Next is regression analysis. Regression models use statistical relationships between one or more independent variables or predictors and the dependent variable, the variable to be forecasted. Example of this is the student performance, analyzing how variables like study time, attendance, and socioeconomic status affect a student's academic performance. Next is we have exponential smoothing. This method assigns exponentially decreasing weights to older data points, giving more importance to recent observations. Example of this is hospitals and clinics apply exponential smoothing to forecast patient admissions, enabling efficient staffing and resource allocation. Next is machine learning models. Modern machine learning techniques such as neural networks, decision trees, and random forest can also be applied for forecasting when dealing with complex data. Example of this is decision trees. Ap- uh, it's like the it, application of this is customer segmentation, fraud detection, and recommendation system, just like movie or product recommendations. Role of judgmental forecasting and statistical forecasting. First, the role of judgmental forecasting is often used in situations where there is a lack of data, a high degree of uncertainty, or a need for creativity and innovation. For instance, it can be beneficial for new product launches, emerging markets, or long term scenarios. Some advantages of judgmental forecasting include the ability to incorporate qualitative factors that are not easily quantified or measured by data, adjust to changing conditions that are not captured by statistical models, and generate original ideas that are not derived from past data. However, this type of forecasting also has some drawbacks such as potential cognitive errors that affect the accuracy and reliability of predictions, influence from social factors that affect the quality and diversity of opinions, and being costly and time consuming due to the need for gathering and synthesizing information from various sources and stakeholders. And the role of statistical forecasting is often used when there is a large amount of data, a low degree of uncertainty, or a need for accuracy and efficiency. For example, it can be helpful for inventory management, sales forecasting, or demand planning. Advantages of statistical forecasting include its objectivity and consistency, its ability to handle complex data, and its optimization of forecasting processes with advanced tools. However, there are also some drawbacks to using statistical forecasting. Data quality, availability, and relevance can all be limited. Additionally, it may not account for randomness, volatility, or outliers in the data patterns and trends. Lastly, it may not adapt to new information or scenarios that are not included in the data models and assumptions.
Next topic is how statistical and judgmental forecasting techniques are applied in practice. Managers use a variety of judgmental and quantitative forecasting techniques. Second is statistic method alone cannot account for such a factor as a sales, promotion, competitive strategies, unusual economy disturbance, new products, large, large one-time orders, labor complications, etc. Third is statistic forecasting are often adjusted to account for qualitative factors.
At dyan po nagtatapos ang aming report about forecasting and demand planning. We hope na nagkaroon po tayo ng insight about forecasting and demand planning at makatulong po ito sa mga susunod na mga businesswoman and man ng ating bansa. Again, thank you for listening and have a good day.